Anyways, this is Dr. Umar describing. Gotta start this thing all over again now. Is Dr. Umar describing socialism?
As Pan-African nationalists, we don't take issue with the basic premise of socialism. With the basic premise of socialism, that capitalism is a problem.
Fucking up his vacuum.
And that the private ownership of the means of production is one of the biggest causes of poverty and dysfunction in this world. We agree.
Do you?
The problem is they stop short of a racial consciousness.
All right. So basically what he's saying is, for people that don't understand, he's saying that socialism is also racist, and because of that, people, or black people for that matter, shouldn't be socialist. Everybody should, Then what the fuck do you, like, if everything is racist, then what do you want people to be? In my opinion, let alone, forget socialism, not even capitalism as a system is racist, okay? Does it justify white supremacy? Yes, it does. There is white supremacy within the system, but capitalism as a system is not racism, or it's not oriented in racism. Like, it's profit-oriented, okay? That's what capitalism is all about. And in most cases, like we're seeing right now with most institutions in America, most of these capital owners will choose their profit over white supremacy. So for the most part, capitalism as an ideology is profit-oriented. What that shows is that you could also have different policies and agendas while practicing these types of ideologies, whether it's socialism or capitalism, without emphasizing the racism. And that's what America is doing right now. Like, again, as I say, there is white supremacy within the system, but the system by itself is not white supremacist, okay? Like, that, I disagree with that. Let's just understand that. And socialists, like, most socialists 100% understand that white supremacy exists. Like, the whole idea of just because there are people who could be racist who are socialist, you should just like you should debunk the whole idea of socialism is crazy, especially when it's fucking coming from, Dr. Umar, who's like a prolific capitalist himself.
That shows the role that white supremacy, Chinese imperialism plays in that capitalism. And so for us...
Just so you know why he's stressing Chinese capitalism is because he's in Ethiopia. Basically what China is doing is, I say Chinese capitalism, imperialism. Why he's mentioning Chinese imperialism is because, the Chinese are going in to Africa, and what they're doing is these construction companies that are Chinese construction companies go into a country like, let's say, Ethiopia or Kenya, and they basically say, hey guys, we want to build your roads, we want to build your whatever, we want to build your whatever, we want to build your transport system, we want to build infrastructure in your country. But what you have to do for us is, obviously, you have to pay us, okay? Now, these countries pay these construction companies who happen to be Chinese. But guess what? That money that that Ethiopia or Kenya or Djibouti or any of these African countries, the money that they get to pay these construction companies that happen to be Chinese are the money that they get that money from the Chinese government via loans, okay? The Chinese government gives Kenya a loan, all right? And then Kenya takes that loan and pays a Chinese construction company to, let's say, build an airport, all right? And that's basically what China is doing. Now, when this happens, the Chinese don't, I don't know, I'm not sure about this, but I don't even think like the Chinese employ Kenyans or Ethiopians or Africans when they do this. They basically like bring other employees from China to build these construction companies, and they basically that's taking jobs away from Africans. uh, and that's also a problem. But not only that, what the Chinese government also does is, if you're not able to pay your loans, they basically take these like construction, these airports, these infrastructures, they take it away from you, so they own it. So this is like basic neocolonialism. So that's why you're going to see, if you see Dr. Umar in Africa, you're going to see him talk about Chinese imperialism a lot, which I agree with him on that, by the way. But that's the context for people
The
that don't
issue
know.
with the black socialists is they refuse to see the role of race.
What?
W.E.B. Du Bois, George
Role
Padmore,
of risk. What?
and other black socialists who joined the Communist Party, Socialist International, most of them quit. They got frustrated with the fact that the Comintern and these other socialist white organizations were still racist. So what Marcus Garvey said, they had to learn it for themselves, that no economic system is going to displace race. They still expect to rule over us. So we don't reject the philosophy. We reject the fact that it stops short of a thorough racial analysis.
It doesn't. Any black socialist would tell you that, yes, in capitalism there's white supremacy. In socialism there's white supremacy. But socialism as a philosophy is not white supremacist. The same with capitalism. When Adam Smith, okay, wrote The fucking Wealth of Nations, he wasn't like, yeah, fuck black people, okay? Enslave black people, please. No, he wasn't. At the end of the day, capitalism as a system is not a white supremacist system. It's an ideology. It's an economic ideology, okay? And we're saying, as an ideology, it's bad. That's it. Same goes for socialism, okay? These are ideologies. Again, in capitalism, because you have classism so much, and the people who are on the upper class are, specifically the top 1%, are white, because they're white, obviously, systematically, white supremacy is going to be justified in America, for example, and in Africa, and in other places as well, okay? Because these people in capitalist societies, these people who are on top, who have the power structure, are white. So white supremacy is going to be justified. But that doesn't make capitalism as a system a white supremacist system. Okay? It doesn't. It makes people, are the people who are in power white supremacists? Sure. But not the system. Same goes with socialism. So when you make an argument and you say black socialist people don't understand the role of race or racism, socialists are also racist, like there's no ideology, it's like, come on, bro. If you agree with the philosophy, then what are we even disagreeing on? What we're disagreeing on is that you're a capitalist, and that's it. And that's what we're disagreeing on. And you are always going to, you're never going to be against the status quo, and that's why you're never a threat.
Analysis. During the time of Garvey, many of the black socialists at that time tried to infiltrate and take over the Garvey movement. And he successfully debated a lot of them on socialism versus nationalism, and he won every time. Because although the economic analysis was accurate, the racial analysis was lacking.
What is nationalism? Nationalism is not a fucking economic ideology, but what are we arguing? How are you going to say it's like apples and oranges? Nationalism how are you even going to put nationalism in the same debate with fucking capitalism? These are like, or socialism. These are like different fucking ideas, bro. Like, bro, let me just explain to you what Dr. Umar is. Dr. Umar is a person that describes the white power structure, and he also describes the black people and where they exist within the white power structure. And Dr. Umar doesn't want this, okay? He doesn't want equality. Or Dr. Umar doesn't want this. He doesn't want equality, okay? What Dr. Umar wants is this. He wants to replace the white power structure with a black power structure. And that is a problem, because that is not going to bring true equality, okay? But when he does this, he's always going to be pro-capitalist and he's always going to be anti-socialist. And that's why most of the time, as long as you're pro-capitalist, you're never going to be a threat for the status quo. And that's why, you see him showing up in the fucking Breakfast Club every other week.
A communist, a white socialist is still a white supremacist. And so that's the only difference we would make there. Economic Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism, I would say, in the past 30 years or so has been more rhetorical than practical. It has been more ideological.
Ironic. Very ironic, huh?
Than developmental. And I think there's different reasons for that. On the American side, after the Honorable Marcus Garvey was deported in 1927, in no small part due to the shenanigans of W.E.B. Du Bois and other jealous black leaders, Pan-Africanism took a downturn.
I like how he's like talking about Pan-Africanism from a Marcus Garvey standpoint, and he's like literally in Africa. Like, that's like the most American shit ever, dog. Like, I'm pretty sure all of these African countries, including Ethiopia, where I'm from, by the way, have their own understanding of Pan-Africanism. I'm 100% sure of that. But, anyways.
Because most of the post-Garvey leaders in America.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking irritating. Anyways, whatever.